Unbelievable. Hardest working people, most beautiful people we are. I
Oh my
know
gosh. Can you
that
see all the
old
exhaustion on my face?
that trifling Kim K comments will make it seem like she's the hardest worker, but in fact, we are really working harder than her. So, and we're beautiful, and I just feel like today we're giving ourselves our own flowers. How about that?
Yes.
You look good. How are you feeling? One thing I know about you, speaking of like hard work, like you really are kind of up to your 24 hours in a day. You kind of pack it in kind of nice. Are you able to also give yourself a little bit of like social hangouts and a little bit of free time? Is that even happening for
No,
you right
I
now these
haven't
days?
been. I honestly haven't been. I mean, my day is literally scheduled to the hour. It's so ridiculous. But
Mm,
I'm trying to time block better. So I've been getting advice from, other people on how to, because, you and I both have this problem, I think, where we just work, 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 and that's about it. And it's just like
hmm.
enough. So the work life balance I've always struggled with, especially having my own business, and I don't work for anybody anymore, so having to really hustle and get everything together just takes so much time, and I do get off my ass and I do get to work. So it's definitely a hard thing, but I'm but also taking a break and having that social time is really important for your just your overall mental health and just quality of life. So I'm trying to figure that shit out, but it's not working out too
Good.
well.
And it's not like I'm a life coach. Obviously, this show is just about recapping difficult people at the moment. And we're on season 3, and it's so exciting. But sometimes we want to bring up some of the stuff that happened. And I'm not going to like break down, like, I was going to do a full breakdown on it. But, recently Kim Kardashian had these comments about like women. It's geared to women, but it was in general just talking about the culture and the society of like not wanting to work hard enough. And I have this photo. If you're listening audibly to us, well, you'll have to watch our YouTube channel. But I have this photo like from basically 100 years ago, with Kim Kardashian's old face. And, as lovely as she was, no diss at all, because, when I get my money right, I'll also have, all the things. But just, I really struggled. I
I
struggled
love
with the
it with her
comment.
old face.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's the most interesting of the group. So it's not like I'm hating, but I want to say that there was such a disheartening comment, and it's not like we're gonna go word by word of what she stated, but it was along the lines of like, get your ass up and work. And the reality is that really didn't sit well with me. Being looking at this photo, it's a radio event. It's an Inspired event, which is a very good event in general. It was put on by actually one of Anthony Quinn's sons, Alex Quinn. I used to go to several of his events back in the day. And so she was starting off to a degree, if you know what I'm saying. And there's nothing wrong with that. This was right before she got her reality show. And I really do have a resentment for like the idea that the rest of us or people, and obviously it wasn't towards anyone in particular, but it didn't sit well with me the last couple of days, because I wasn't mad that this woman doesn't have the wherewithal to understand where she started in life beyond a sex tape. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, being born in I'm talking about being born into a situation, like not all of us have rich friends we go travel with or whatever the case. They would always say, for better or worse, it was Uncle OJ. You're just ushered into a different world. So honestly, the sex tape isn't really what made her. She already started stronger than anybody. And I just felt like it weighed on my spirit a little bit, because you have so many people who are like impressionable, 17, 18, 19, 20, and now they're going to go out into the workforce, and they're working right now at the CVS counter, and they're like, that's right, if Kim could do it, I could do it. And it's not saying that they can't, but like, I just thought that was the dumbest advice to ever give. And I feel like not enough people talk about kind of what I was saying to you in a second ago.
Hmm.
Not enough people talk about the mental health aspect of it. I was like, Kelly, how are you? Are you getting free time? Are you relaxing? Are you making sure you have balance? Because this is a marathon, not a sprint. And if you
Yeah.
try to sprint at that pace and you don't have, the money that's strong to start, and you're not attached to the trial of the century, the doors aren't going to open the same way. So I wasn't going to do a segment on this, so to speak, but I did want to like tell you, Kelly, like it bugged me so much. Do you think I'm being too, like soft about it? Because a lot of people online
Well,
will be like, that's right, girl,
here's
work hard. And it's like, bitch, we all work hard. Like, shut up, but I like
but
Kim.
that's the thing though, is that that's not true. Like the younger generations now, and I witnessed it a lot too, like they're just doing enough. They're doing just enough. But
Mhm.
we come from a work ethic where just enough is not enough. Like we're going above and beyond and always want to do the best we can with anything we put our name on, right? And I feel like
Mhm.
she has that same spirit. And although the delivery probably wasn't the best, I think the overall message for these younger, everybody that just wants to do the bare minimum, I think it is a little bit like I agree to that extent, because I've had instances where I'm the one saying like, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is not enough. Like you need to be better. We need to do more. Like why are you being lazy? And I'm always looked at as like, oh, I'm just a bitch and I'm just mean and I'm just this. And it's like,
Mm.
but am I? Because whatever you do is a reflection of me, and if you're being lazy, it looks like I'm being lazy, and I'm not going to have that. So
Yeah.
there's a fine line between that, but I think it bothered you because she's not talking to you. Like she's not talking to a person like you, because you would never
Mhm.
need that sort of speaking to. But I see a lot of people that are, in their, mid to late 20s, who just are doing stuff for the glam of it and the Instagram post and whatever, and they're not really working all that hard. Or they
Yeah.
are, but they don't understand all that went through, all that the people went through before them, for them to be able to be as lazy as they are. You know what I mean? So it's
I
like,
think the part.
all of us that kind of pick up the slack, right? Because there's always someone in, it doesn't matter what kind of job you have. There's always a lazy motherfucker, and there's always someone that's picking up the slack
Oh,
for them. Like always. No matter what industry you're in. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen my mom go through it in the medical industry. My sister goes through it in like her job, and like there. But the thing that's so crazy to me is like the bosses and the people are always like kissing ass to the lazy asses. And I will never understand how so many people can fail up. Never will understand that. And
Mm.
when she says that, like I agree to that extent, because I see it all the time. Is that laziness gets rewarded while hard work is expected from the people that are constantly doing it.
Yeah. I know, yeah, there's a lot of people who are doing, and we'll move on to difficult people in a moment. And I was looking
Clearly,
at
I'm very
myself while
passionate about this.
no, I love it. And this is going to be the next era of our show, because once we're done with difficult people, we're going to start breaking down like hot topics for the most part, and really
Mhm.
fun conceptual situations and 90s stuff and what it's like to be over 35. And by the way, Kim Kardashian working for 20 years up against the hill, all the time. We're going to have like really a fun show. But yeah, no, I was looking and I was like, gosh, I'm so sad. Not sad, but I'm so disappointed. And I think the disappointment comes from this, Kelly. When I entered the industry in my 20s in radio and was interning, I kind of feel like we need to do a little bit better. Know your job, know your craft, hone your craft. Like I'm always going to be about that, right? But
Mhm.
I don't want to use the word gaslighting, but I don't like the gaslighting aspect of like, what do I tell you all the time, Kelly, on this show? I work 9 days a week all through my 20s. And it was evident of that because I inflated to 320 pounds on one level. And then I was down to like 175 pounds on another level, because when you're trying to work 9 days a week, your body gets out of sorts. Then my body got out of sorts. I was really heavy, really unhealthy at 26 years old. And then by 28, I was down to 175 pounds because I said, oh gosh, maybe I shouldn't be working 9 days a week, not sleeping, being malnutrition, with
Mhm.
McDonald's every day. And then I got in great shape, but then my career slipped away. So these are the things she hasn't went through. So yeah, it's so easy for everyone to be like, that's right. Like I'm up with her and I'm working hard too. Bitch, we all are. You know what I mean? We all are doing it. That's the
Yes,
thing.
totally.
We're all doing it. And
Mhm.
I think I don't like that it preys on certain people where they feel like they have to defend it because they don't want to talk against it, because then it's like, oh, someone might clock them as not working hard, but there was a couple of
Mhm.
comments out there. The great Soledad O'Brien had a comment, which, by the way, I've interviewed her. The great Bevy Smith had a comment, which I've read her book. So some of the people I really respect were kind of like, I mean, come on. But my
Yeah.
point is, if we're going to talk about hard work, let's shout it out to Soledad O'Brien. If we're going to talk about hard work, let's shout it out to Bevy Smith. And also let's stop celebrating hard work as the thing. Let's stop celebrating like, hey, how you doing? How's everything going? Oh my God, I'm so busy. Oh God, I've been working 9 days a week. Like, stop celebrating that. Like, we have one life to live and we're not taking care of ourselves. Like, don't let me be
Yeah.
a life coach, Kellie. I tell my friends,
I need one right now because no, and you're absolutely right. And when I went to Europe, and it's a whole different, it's backwards. It's backwards to us over there because they do take breaks and their days are shorter and they're not all about working to live, and that's
mhm,
a good mentality. And when I came back, I had a more chill, kind of like outlook on stuff. And, I wanted to divide that. And then I decided to start my own business. And then I was like, well, shit. How do you do it now? Um,
yeah, yeah,
but yes, getting off your ass and getting to work is sound advice for anybody.
mhm,
But there's so much more context that needs to go into it. Like, you have to also appreciate what you're doing, like what you're doing, and also do what's best for you in whichever field that you're in. It can't just be a blanket statement
yeah.
because there's so
Usually
there
I
you
don't.
know there's so many other things. Mhm.
Usually I don't bring up someone like Kim Kardashian or just a hot button person because I know there's a crowd of people who aren't as smart as me who will be like, oh, you're just trying to eat off. True. Who are just trying to eat off her name. So I specifically wasn't going to bring this up because I didn't want it to be looked at as like, oh, you're just using her name, and that's like to
Mhm.
help bring your show up. That's really not the case. The case is that I really want to make sure the next generation, like my cousin really likes Kylie. I have a cousin who's around 19 years old,
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. But I would hate for Kylie to be like, I'm self-made, which there was some statement about that a bit ago, and it's sort of like reshift the younger generation to do the stupid shit that I did. I shouldn't have been working 9 days a week all through my 20s, but I did that because there was some idiot who was probably like, hey, Ronnie, if you do the work, it's going to equate. The work is good and I'm proud of that, but it doesn't always equate the success. It just shouldn't have been said by somebody like her. If we're going to talk about hard work, I think we should verge off a smidge and know that most of us are working hard, probably more than the
Yeah.
Kardashians, because when you go on set, Kim, you're going on as the star. Go do it as an intern. Go do it where you're not getting paid. Do a podcast. Start a podcast with Spotify. She had that Spotify deal where the money starts off strong. Do a show for 26 shows like ours with limited money and limited resources. It's not the same game, so you wouldn't be talking the way you were talking. And I like Kim enough that I would interview her. Most of the times I talk about somebody, I'm such a dismissive person. I'm like, no time for you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I would just never. But
Yeah.
Kim, I like. Kim, I would talk to because these are real points, and I'm not veering off or backing down because I have the notion or I know that there's a notion of like, oh, he's just being a hater. Not at all. Not at all.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna just wrapping this up, if we're gonna talk about hard work or being efficient in the job, I always like the way the now late Andre Leon Talley talked about if you're going into fashion, it's not enough to know about Chanel's little black dress. It's to know Coco Chanel. It's to know where she, who she was taking as a lover at the time, what bistro she went to, what did she take on her
It's
bagels,
doing your
like to
homework,
really
doing your
to know.
research, like really knowing things. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people don't do that. Everybody's reading the cliff notes, everybody's reading the headlines, nobody's really researching. They're not like doing the work. And I think, and I think in her instance, she made those statements based off of her life and in her world. She does work hard and she does do that. She's just not thinking because she doesn't know. Like, a lot of people don't have their parents' money to pay all the expenses while they're out, taking the bar exam, studying to be a lawyer, doing all these great things that she's able to do. They have to, you know, pay their mortgage, pay their rent, pay their car, like all that. She doesn't have to think about it in the same way. Not that she doesn't have to think about it. I
yeah,
mean, I don't know her situation, but I'm saying like there was a whole already kind of like her parents did a lot of that work for her. And,
yeah,
and there are a lot of, people that have that luxury that where their parents can help them out. I didn't. Like I didn't grow up
Yeah.
that way. So anything that I did, I had to stress about, okay, well, I'm going to have to go bust my ass to do this, but then I got to
Yeah.
pay, I got to figure out how I'm going to live and how I'm going to do that. You know,
I
going from a
mean,
$300 rent in Texas to like a $700
ooh,
rent in California. It's like, what the?
Kelly even worked at Best Buy during the Christmas holiday
I
because she had
sure
to.
did. You got to
And
do what you got to do, man.
you plopped yourself into LA in your early 20s, knowing nobody, and before you know it, with quote unquote hard work, you know, that whole thing, you're right there with Hugh Hefner, you know, getting life lessons and working in as a
Hey, I
publicist.
was there
Like,
when Kardashians first started filming because the Girls Next Door was first on E. So the Kardashians would come
yeah,
over to
yeah,
come
yeah,
over and do stuff at the mansion. And when
yeah.
Kim did her cover shoot, it was like my first day working at Playboy. And
Yeah.
so they had just started filming the show. And so a lot of the people that worked on Girls Next Door worked on the Kardashians in the first season. So there was a lot of crossover for that, like behind the scenes, not on the show.
Right. No,
That
I
was
think she's
really,
lovely.
that
And
was
like,
my first intro into that family. It's so interesting.
well, even the event that I'm showing you here, this is inspired event. This was right before the show taped. So the show had, at
Hmm.
this point, the show was not on the air. It was an event in Hollywood. In fact, in the interview, I wish I had the footage. You know, as far as to pull up right now, I think it was like, oh, something like, oh, I got this dress at my sister's shop. Like, this was before you knew even what Dash was. This was very early on, but it's quite a
Yeah.
luxury to have, you know, a
Hmm.
shop. You know,
Well, and it's
it's
not
quite a
to diminish
luxury.
any of the things that they have, because I mean, they individually, each of them, they have been smart and they have banked on what they did do. And I don't want to diminish anybody's like hard work at all, but there are different stages of that on how people can achieve that. And that's why I think it was a little bit, it was taken, you know, received the way that it was, like on the internet and stuff, because it's like, yeah, it's real easy for somebody that comes from money to say that, but you don't know everybody's hardships. So that's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, the message, I still like, I'm with her on that message, but I think the
But Kelly,
delivery and like all of that.
weren't we all with that message?
Well,
Like to
yeah,
put a
yeah,
little bit
but
of a defense, it's like we were all with that message. Like, we didn't need her.
right,
I'm gonna
but
tell you
like,
what I think the problem is. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, but I mean, how recent have you worked in like a corporate setting? How recent, like how, I mean, like where you're in
Right,
an
right,
office
right,
with
right before the
with
pandemic, and just like every job, it's those
mhm.
doors are not opening up. People don't, you
No, I'm
know,
not talking about
it's a
that, but I mean like with your coworkers, like in the groups that you're working with. Like, did you notice the divide? Like, you'll have the people that are always on top of it, that are always doing everything, but and you have the people that are skating. The people that are skating off the coattails of the people that work
yeah.
harder, that pick up their slack. I think that's what she meant. I think she meant
Mhm,
that it's like you have to do more than just to get by if you want
yeah.
to, you know,
If I
achieve
was
these
gonna
certain
def
things. At least that's the way that I took it.
if I was going to defend her in a difficult people way, I would say it's kind of like why we love Billy and Julie. Billy and Julie, Billy and Julie, and you know, one of my favorite episodes is when they have the girl who used to be babysat by Julie, and it's like
Yes.
this whole thing. It's like where she's like, "Well, Julie, you just have to believe in yourself." And what the young girl doesn't realize is, like, you came up in a culture where you could go direct to YouTube and create success like super quick, whereas the way for Julie to do it, you did have to cut your teeth. Like, you actually had to, you know, sort of showcase that you were of a certain level. There were gatekeepers. Some people have ways where they think that's not a good thing or whatever. But sometimes I think a little bit of gatekeeping is good, because you're kind of accessing a room for everyone to decide who's the top tier talent, you know. And I think in that regard, the young girl was very dismissive of hard work. She succeeded. I'm not saying she didn't. So maybe
Hmm.
that's what you're saying. She succeeded, but she didn't actually ever have to be talented. She didn't have to learn. She didn't have to want to become a better performer. So I don't know. Oh gosh, this whole topic makes me feel so upset, because again, there's just so many people who are going to do the whole like, yeah, girl, yeah. And it's like, oh, she's not the one to, yeah, girl, yeah. Yeah, girl, yeah, somebody who really is self-made. That's all I'm really saying. That's my bigger point.
Yeah.
You know, I think Kelly, you know, our beautiful Kelly here. I want to, yeah, girl, you know, I want to be like, that's right, Kelly. You know, you are such a badass, so much to the point we barely have time to talk to each other.
Oh my gosh. Like
and,
this is my this is my social time. And I mean and I love it. And that's why it's just, it's really everybody is hopefully going to be able to. The one thing I do love about the way society has changed is, when I first started out, it was very much like the Ari Gold entourage days where everybody was mean. And then it instilled really ugly things in me when I was working because that's what I learned. That's what I knew. So it's like it trickles down, right? So it's like you don't want to get yelled at. So it's like, you're trying to be more motivating and nicer, but then people are being lazy. So you're like, what the fuck? And then you have those moments
right.
where it's like, all I need you to do is what I'm asking you to do. I need you to do what you were hired to do. Like, why is that hard? And that's always been kind of my, like, when I was full-fledged in the workforce working for other companies, that's why I was always so irritated because it's like, why can't you just do what you were hired to do? Like, why is that hard? And I see it now a lot in, with people that, my family, like in the stories that they tell me. And it's like, right. It's so infuriating. Like, just follow directions. Just do what you're asked to do. And then let's go from there. It's just, it's so the whole, like, a lot of these new movements where it's like, you have to be nice and you have to be that. On one hand, I think it's great. On the other hand, I think it also leaves so much room for people to be lazy and just cry that, oh, I can't work because so-and-so's mean to me. When in reality, they just don't want to work.
I talked to you about radio. I have the level of like, now you could just do it on. I mean, I think Amazon just started a thing called Amp On or something like that. So you didn't necessarily have to wait for a program director to hire you. You could create it on your own. And while that's all good, I kind of miss what you're talking about, even though maybe some of the levels of it were a little harsher than needed.
Yeah.
There were some levels of that made you just be like, yo, I'm waking up, it's 5 a.m. and I got to get to it. And when I do get to the job, they're going to put me through my paces. Like, they really made you be good back in our day. So, people can be like, oh,
no, they did.
Ronnie and Kellie.
They did. They didn't let you have excuses for being lazy. I mean, I remember getting yelled at for not having a banner straight when I was hanging it up. Why are you stupid? That's crooked.
So the moral of the story is 2 things. Kim Kardashian might just have imposter syndrome, which a lot of people do. And she may be trying to arc her way out of it, where and there's nothing wrong with that. Things have went real favorable for her. She has put in the work, but the imposter syndrome is that, like, wow, it really luckily went away. So in order to combat the imposter syndrome, she has to kind of say, hey, everybody, I'm all about the work, which, it's not necessarily anything that she needs to do. I like her. She's lovable. She's one of the favorites of the family. I actually think she's the greatest. I think we'd have a great interview, her and I. And I'm not saying anything bad. I'm saying things to protect the generation who's 18, 19, 20, who's going to say, I'm not going to my Christmas get together because Kim told me to work harder. I'm not going to my Thanksgiving because Kim told me to work harder, which why I say all that, Kellie, is I was that guy.
No,
I took the bait when I was young, because they said, not they, but people said, put in the work. So you know how many Thanksgivings I missed, Kellie?
I do too. It's like, no, but you can't take it so literal, right? You have to take the information. You have to take the information, and it's good. It's at the end of the day, it's good advice. And it's so funny because my sister, and she watches the show and everything, and she's always telling me how things that Kim says, it always reminds her of things I say. She's like, you talk just like her. I don't know why you don't watch it. And I'm like, shut up, don't say that to me. But I mean, and I found it to be true. Like, a lot of things that she says, I absolutely agree with. And like I said, the message here, I think it's right, but you have to take what she's saying and factor it into your life in a way that works for you. It's not everything is so literal, because it can't be, because everybody's situation is different.
Well, I feel better. I needed to get that off my chest. And
Well,
and you know me, it's not that I'm like against somebody being paid for being themselves and knowing that that's hard work. I mean, I watch Housewives, for goodness sake. I know that Kenya Moore, while talented and while she won pageants back in the 90s, the job still is selling yourself. So I'm not against anyone. There will be a time where our podcast is so good, and literally Kellie, we're going to get paid for being ourselves. Somebody could say that's not work. So I understand that it is still work, to push your products or whatever. It just didn't sit well with me because of the 19-year-old. It didn't sit well with me because of the
Yeah,
19-year-old
no,
who I
yeah.
was. And it didn't sit well with me because I look at Kim's old face and I look at my old face and I'm like, we both worked hard, honey, like we did. And it just didn't, it's not the same game. So she needs to be a little more respectful. Imposter syndrome, she's trying to sell the new Hulu series. And you know what? The part that I will like chill on is that she is a mother of four. She's going through a lot in terms of, breaking up or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and that part in the public eye, it may have all just came out in that interview. But you know what? We're not talking about her. We're talking about Billy and Julie, Difficult People, season 3. Kellie, before I tell you that, I just wanted to kind of give you a comment, and I know you could agree. The delicious and amazing Viridian Rowe, creativity never goes out of style, is who is behind our show. We don't have Kardashian money, but we still have Viridian Rowe showing us love. Do you want to kind of give a note or two on what Viridian Rowe is and what they offer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Viridian Row is a sister-owned company. It was, built out of the concept to create stuff. So there's lots of fun, creative things on the site. You can also customize your own stuff. So definitely check out viridianrow.com. They're also on Etsy. And, there's canvas art, movie quote t-shirts are my favorite. That whole line is my favorite thing. I'm always constantly suggesting new ones for that. And there's also, festive things and, like I said, customize, great gifts at that little site. So definitely check it out.
Yeah. And
because
you know
those
what?
women
Viridian
get
Rowe,
off their ass and work.
you said what I was going to say. You said what I was going to say. That's it. Okay, Difficult People, take it away. This was a fun episode. I know you don't say the word anymore, zingers, but there was a lot of zingers, and that was good. And gosh, this show makes me so happy.
There were
That's the
so
thing.
many great cameos in this episode.